What is going on, you guys? Welcome to my full card breakdown for UFC 321 this weekend. We got a great card. Hopefully it's as entertaining as last weekend. And speaking of last weekend, unfortunately, we missed a parlay lock of the week. Danny Barlow dropped the ball for us. I think he needs a major camp or gym change. But besides that, I did great on my full card predictions. I saw the Bakoyev and RDR fraud check coming from a mile away. I had $50 on Belgari at plus 235. That was easily some of the best odds I've ever gotten. I'm going to start giving out more bets because this past month I haven't actually done too bad betting wise. Just had some bad luck and on a bad cold streak with this lock of the week. So for times like this, when the lock of the week is on a cold streak and there's cards that have underdogs that I'm as confident in like last week, it's definitely not a bad idea to throw a little less in the lock of the week and spread your money around to take advantage of those other opportunities. I like my lock of the week this week. I have a few other bets that I really like, a couple regular sportsbook bets and a couple DFS parlays for anybody that plays that. But without further ado, let's get into this breakdown. First fight of the night, we got Jacqueline Amarim versus Mizuki Inoue. Jacqueline at almost 5-1 odds is crazy. She's an extremely dangerous grappler, but she is extremely one-sided. Just some of the most horrific stand-up we've ever seen. Sam Hughes really exposed her cardio and her boxing in that fight. Just how slow and tired she was, pulling guard the second she got hit because it was more comfortable for her than being on the feet. But I don't think many other fighters besides Sam Hughes would have been able to defend those chokes. Mizuki has been very inactive, only fought once in the past 5 years because of injuries, but people are acting like she's the worst fighter that's ever come in this cage. She's actually got pretty good stand-up, always coming forward, great cardio and pressure. Fought in almost prime Amanda Lemos when she was only 24 years old. Had to take a couple years off for an ACL tear and then came back against Goldie and put on a dominant performance. Showed how good her cardio and takedown defense was, and we're obviously going to see if that takedown defense is good enough in this fight. I think it's pretty clear how this fight turns out. If Jacqueline can get it to the ground, she's going to get a sub pretty easily. But if Mizuki can keep it on the feet and get out of the first round, it's her fight to lose. I'm going to go with Jacqueline in this fight by first round sub, but it wouldn't be that much of a shock if Mizuki pulled out a decision. Next fight, we got Azat Maxim versus Mitch Raposa. I'm not too high on Azat, especially at these odds. These guys are very opposite fighters in the sense that Azat Maxim always shows up to fight and lets his hands go, but there's a lot of holes and aspects to his striking that really worries me. Whereas Mitch Raposa, his problem is that he doesn't let his hands go enough, but when he does, it looks very sharp and fast and powerful. Hard fight to call because Mitch Raposa kind of has his back up against the wall. Probably going to get cut if he doesn't win this fight. His past 2 fights, he was too hesitant, but he was fighting much better strikers and guys that were better strikers than him. So his striking in those fights was just a means to an end to set up the takedown. Whereas in this fight, he's actually going to be the better striker, but the worse wrestler. I'm actually going to go with Mitch Raposa in this fight. His boxing and stand-up is much cleaner and more dangerous than Maxim's. Maxim's definitely going to be the better wrestler, so he could go to the ground with this fight. But I hate how with his striking, he throws out so many pointless, weak, straight punches. He has to set up everything with a jab and straight punches, and throws out just way too many unnecessary punches just trying to set things up. It becomes very predictable as the fight goes on, and when you combine that with how little he moves his head and how easy it is to hit him, I think Mitch Raposa is going to be beating him to the punch and landing much heavier strikes than him. A lot of people thought Azat might have won his fight against Tagir, but when you rewatch that fight, I think it was a very similar situation where he was letting his hands go and actually landing more, but because the punches were so weak, anything that Tagir hit him with was so much more powerful and damaging, it was always going to sway the judge's opinion. And I think this is going to be a situation where it's a perfect storm for Mitch Raposa. I think between him knowing he didn't let his hands go enough the last couple fights, knowing that he's probably going to get caught if he loses this fight, knowing he's the worst wrestler so he has to strike, it's not just going to be him striking to try and set up takedowns. And I think that when he finally starts letting his hands go in this fight, I think he's going to realize how much better of a striker he is than a wrestler, and I think he's going to sneak out a 29-28 decision. Azat Maxim could just take it to the ground and out wrestle him for 3 rounds, but I don't think he's that type of fighter. So it's going to be Mitch Raposa to win this fight by 29-28 decision. Next fight, we got Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Delgado. I love Nathaniel Wood in this spot. Extremely well-rounded, tons of experience. I think he's going to be better than Delgado everywhere. Gorgeous boxing and head movement. Beautiful, fast, heavy combinations. He's got the ability to take it to the ground and use that nasty ground and pound that he has also. Delgado's got a lot of power, but there's a lot of holes in his striking that he's gotten away with because he hasn't fought this high level of a competition yet. The way he strings together those long 10, 12, 14 punch combinations with no defense, I think Nathaniel Wood has that perfect style where he can use that high guard and bait Delgado in, make him think he's having success, and then counter with a much heavier and more powerful combination. When you watch Delgado's tape back, there's times where he's throwing the same combination back to back with the exact same pace and tempo. Somebody as experienced and good as Nathaniel Wood is going to see that and capitalize immediately. I think the odds are this way because Nathaniel Wood has gotten dropped a lot in fights before, but he always recovers well, and I think Delgado leaves himself far too open to counters. I love him in the spot, plus 125, I love those odds. You can get his knockout prop at plus 750, which I think is crazy. I actually think that's the most likely method of victory. Nathaniel Wood has dropped like all 4 of his last opponents. I could see him knocking him out cold or finishing him with a liver shot. So give me Nathaniel Wood to win this fight by KO. Next fight, we got Walter Walker versus Louis Sutherland. Louis Sutherland making his UFC debut. His nickname on the regional scene was the White Gorilla, which I think is funny because he was taking enough steroids to probably kill a gorilla. I'm gonna go with Walter Walker in this fight. I mean, what is there to break down? He's had 4 fights in the UFC, 3 of them by first round heel hook finish. Besides that, just his UFC debut where he was like 60 pounds heavier and looked horrible. I'm gonna go with Walter Walker. I want nothing to do with this fight. I wanna see how he does in a decision when he's actually in shape. But give me Walter Walker to win this by submission. Next fight, we got Ludovic Klein versus Mateusz Rebecki. I love Ludovic Klein in the spot. I think he's going to be a much more technical and cleaner kickboxer. Should have a major speed advantage over Rebecki. Nasty kicks to both the body and the head. I love how he prioritizes going to the body. Rebecki's last 3 fights, he's taken potentially career-altering damage in all 3 of them. Just eats way too much damage. Cardio is really bad. Coming off that absolute war against Chris Duncan only like 2.5 months ago, his biggest weakness and problem before was his cardio and not putting in enough effort into the gym. And now only 2 months later, he's taken this fight. He's landed a ton of strikes against his last opponents even when he's tired, but I think that's because those guys are more willing to brawl with him. I think Ludovic Klein is going to be way too clean and fast from the outside. So it's going to be Ludovic Klein to win this fight, probably by late TKO or a decision. One of my favorite bets in this card, even more so than Klein's money line, is Mateusz Rebecki to get lower than 1.5 takedowns. He's only got the cardio to shoot a takedown in the first round to begin with, and Ludovic Klein has incredible takedown defense. I understand he got taken down 6 times against Gamrot, but Gamrot is an entirely different breed of wrestler. Before that fight, he had like a 94% takedown defense. I'd be shocked if Rebecki's shooting takedowns, never mind getting 2 of them. So I love that bet. You guys will see that in one of the DFS parlays at the end of this video. But regardless, give me Ludovic Klein by late TKO or decision. Next fight, we got Ikram Aliskerov versus Jung Young Park. Park is a hard guy to bet your money against, especially when what I'm worried about with Aliskerov is his gas tank. We haven't seen him go to a decision yet. We haven't even seen him leave the first round in the UFC. There's no doubt he's going to be the better striker, training out of Habib's camp in Dagestan, so he should have some very good wrestling as well. But Park's style and pace is very hard to deal with. I was a doubter on him for a long time because when you watch his tape, there's a lot of things that immediately pop out as flaws. The way he walks forward flat-footed, just eating everything. You watch his tape and there's a lot of places where you think guys like Aliskerov can capitalize on. But when it comes to winning the fight, especially in the judge's eyes, that constant forward pressure, it doesn't just wear down his opponent, but because he's eating everything coming his way but not reacting to it, and because he's still landing punches during those exchanges, when you combine that with the forward pressure and the pace and the grappling and the cage control, it does very good at swaying the judge's opinions in his direction. I think this is a tough test for Aliskerov. I'm excited to see how he handles it. I think he can find a KO or hopefully use his wrestling to get to a decision. Give me Aliskerov to win this fight. Definitely don't want to bet on him until I see how he does in this fight. Next fight, we got Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkild. I like Nasrat in this spot. I was surprised to see him open up as the underdog. Crazy volume and pace and gas tank. Super tough and durable. I think he's going to have a massive boxing and speed advantage. Quinlan has some heavy kicks from range, but if Nasrat can keep it on the feet, he's going to be a much cleaner striker and have much higher output. Hard to predict how he's going to look in this fight, especially when you look back at how horrible he looked against Jared Gordon, and then in this very next fight, looks great in that war against Esteban Ribovic. Wouldn't trust him to bet my money on it, but I do think he wins this fight. Next fight, we got Alexander Rakic versus Azamat Murzakanov. I like Rakic in this fight. Massive jump up in competition for Azamat. I always thought Azamat was small for this weight class and probably should be at 185, and now he's going up against not just a regular 205er, but a massive one in Rakic. I think Rakic is too clean and fast of a striker from the outside. I think he's going to move around the outside and use his speed in those 1-2s to get him a pretty safe decision. Even though you wouldn't think of Azamat as a brawler, the reason why he's been able to get his knockouts is in brawls, because he has good technique and he's beating these brawlers brawlers to the punch and knocking them out. I don't think he's big enough or crafty enough to land on a guy like Rakic. It's gonna be Rakic to win this fight by decision. Next fight, we got Alexander Volkov versus Jelton Almeida. Tough fight to call. Jelton Almeida is so athletic and explosive, whereas Volkov is kind of big and a little bit slow on the feet just because of his size, but so much more experienced and way higher fight IQ. I'm gonna go with Jelton Almeida in this fight. I think he gets a grappling and control time heavy decision. I think Volkov is too good to get submitted, but I also think Almeida is too athletic to not get takedowns. I definitely wouldn't trust my money on him though. My favorite bet on this fight is for Jelton Almeida to get higher than 1.5 takedowns. I think that's a crazy line. That's pretty much saying that he's gonna get Volkov to the ground and sub him immediately. He went 5 rounds not being able to sub Derek Lewis and got 9 takedowns in 1 round against Curtis Blades. I think he blows past that 1.5 line. So keep your eye out for that at the end of this video for that DFS parlay. But I'll go with Jelton Almeida to win this fight by decision. Next fight, we got Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. I think Umar dominates this fight. Rumor has it he hasn't been allowed to leave the gym since his loss to Merab. Khabib and Islam just got him sleeping in the basement on some cardboard for dishonoring the family name. They're just bringing like milk and bread down to him like every 3 days. This dude's gonna come in with enough cardio for 50 rounds. I think he's much better than Mario Bautista everywhere. Bautista's got good cardio and output, but he slows down a lot later in the fight. And I don't think getting gifted one of the most brutal robberies of all time and then beating up punching bag Patchy means that you can come in here and hang with Umar. I think Umar dominates this fight wherever it goes. So it's gonna be Umar to win this fight by decision. Next fight, we got Verna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern. I think the only time I've been less excited for a title fight is when Raquel Pennington fought Mayra Bueno Silva. We'll go with Verna to win this fight. I don't really care about this fight. I'm just gonna be hoping it ends by finish so that we can get to the main event sooner. And speaking of the main event, we got Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. I think Aspinall dominates this fight. I think he's gonna come in here and show why John Jones is ducking him. To have this kind of speed and athleticism on the feet when you're a heavyweight is impressive enough. Never mind when you take into account how incredible his grappling is. The way he ran through Volkov and submitted him, only left the first round 1 time against Andrei Arlovsky years ago. I think he's gonna be better than Cyril Gane everywhere. Cyril Gane is very dangerous striking, but a lot of that striking is contingent with his opponents allowing it to happen. A lot of these guys that he's fought will try and stay at range and out kickbox him, which is the worst game plan against a guy like Cyril Gane. I don't think Tom Aspinall does that at all. I think he charges across the cage, gets him to the ground, and submits him pretty quickly. I would say he might want to keep it on the feet longer to either stay safe or set up the takedown, but I think he wants to go out there and finish Gane quicker than John Jones did. So give me Tom Aspinall to win this fight by submission in the first round. Now for the bets this week, I like my parlay lock of the week. I think Klein's odds should be a lot wider than that. For the bets on the regular sportsbook, a moneyline bet on Nathaniel Wood at plus 125, and for him to get a knockout at plus 750. Love the odds on both of those. For the DFS plays, I use the Underdog Fantasy app. My favorite parlay or lineup, whatever you call it, is for Jelton Almeida to get higher than 1.5 takedowns, and for Tom Aspinall to get higher than 0.5 finishes. 1.65 extra money, so like equivalent to a minus 165 parlay. Really love that bet on the safer side, but I think it definitely hits. Then the other DFS lineup I love is Mateusz Rebecki to get lower than 1.5 takedowns, and for Ludovic Klein to get higher than 51.5 significant strikes. Rebecki's not gonna have the cardio to shoot a takedown after the first round to begin with, and Ludovic Klein has incredible takedown defense. I'd be surprised if Rebecki shoots even more than just a couple takedowns, with how easily Klein should be able to stuff them and how dangerous his knees up the middle are. And then for Klein to get higher than 51 strikes, Rebecki eats a ton of damage and can handle it. Ludovic Klein has hit that number against guys that he's finished like AJ Cunningham, and that was a first round finish. Never mind how much damage Rebecki can take over 3 rounds. That parlay is 3.59 extra money, so equivalent to like a plus 259 parlay. Really like that one. I don't think Rebecki's lower on takedown should be the underdog, but I think it's a very sneaky good lineup. If you guys are still watching, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Please subscribe if you're new. Follow me on my socials, my TikTok, my Instagram. Please feel free to leave any comments or suggestions. I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you in next week's video.